What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with another Walk to Our Wednesday as we continue through the True August album Breathing Room 2023. Thank you again to Sofia. And the next tune is Rest Stop on the Highway, which is a very specific reference, and yet I wonder if this is a metaphor either for a particular journey, maybe even the journey of life, and any situation or scenario that provides some refuge or a break where you can recuperate before then setting out on the rest of your journey. And a more literal interpretation could suggest that this is an actual rest stop, an actual highway, but part of some narrative between people or even an individual and an actual journey that was taken. But yeah, it suggests a way station, a place to restock or get supplies or nourishment before you then go back out and have to, stay awake for a long part of the next leg of the journey. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's metaphorical, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it's a literal backdrop or environment for a narrative that is more, start to finish. So let's see what I can pick up on a first listen. This is True August. The track is Rest Stop on the Highway, and it's from his 2023 album Breathing Room. fascinating tune lyrically, which sounds more literal. It sounds like he's actually taking this journey and he's, it's hot in the parking lot, but he's taking the opportunity to get out and stretch and just sort of, allow himself to recover from the previous leg of the journey. And in that regard, already there's a bit of relevance with breathing room, the idea of having a little bit of space just to, inhabit and to be your own and without being, imposed on by others. But there's also something with that sounds like maybe there's another connection to the idea that, some of these songs were recorded during the era of the pandemic with the idea that there's no one around. Now, of course, that could just be you're in this remote way station or, outpost, this rest stop that's like out in the middle of nowhere on this highway that eventually leads to a more premier or populated destination. But yeah, the idea that maybe everyone, is in lockdown and so you decided to take a road trip, and as such it's like this weird surrealist atmosphere where there's no one around. Either way, there was a line like, zero customer satisfaction, which, like, if there's no customers, if there's no one taking advantage of this rest stop aside from the narrator, then maybe that works. Now, again, maybe that line is like a critical take on, this place or even the world at large not functioning or offering what it's supposed to at that given time. But yeah, it certainly creates an image of this like empty parking lot in a hot, sweltering day, and he gets out of his car and again he sort of stretches and takes a deep breath and prepares for the next long drive on this larger journey. But it does sound like there may be some, dual layered, like it's functioning on multiple levels here that I couldn't quite place. Either way, I enjoy the sonics, especially that like electric keyboard main riff, which like near the end suddenly, is presented in isolation, which I very much enjoyed. But the rest of the sonics, they have a lot of energy. Again, there's like that echoed or, effect on his voice, which gives it some space, which I feel like at this point was very much an intentional feature of the album, not just, something that is an aspect of one or two songs, but it's something that maybe is, again, a conceptual expression of the idea of breathing room. But yeah, I think it all comes together well. I think it's got a bit of energy, but I also found myself really focusing on the melodic elements. So yeah, another cool one. I'm loving this album. Looking forward to what I think is now like the final third of the album. In fact, there's only 3 tunes left. Day in LA, Certain Kind of Way, and Buried on Mars, which is a very interesting album closer title. So we'll look forward to those. Do let me know what you think of this one, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.